The story they want you to think is over is just beginning. The convicted are in jail, the famous names have been debated, but the real puppet masters, the individuals with the most to lose, have remained hidden in plain sight. The closure we've been offered is an illusion, a carefully managed narrative designed to close the book before the most dangerous chapters are ever read. Tonight we're not just speculating, we're connecting the dots with public records, flight logs, and sworn testimony to pull back the curtain on the 5 types of people whose names are protected by a formidable wall, a wall built from power, money, and sheer fear. These aren't just names on a list, they are human shields protecting an entire system of influence and corruption from collapsing under the weight of its own depravity. Let's start with the most explosive and logically consistent theory, that Jeffrey Epstein was not a lone wolf financier, but a strategically placed asset for a foreign intelligence agency. And the key to understanding this isn't some shadowy, unknown figure. It's one of Israel's most decorated soldiers and a former prime minister, Ehud Barak. Barak was not a casual acquaintance. This wasn't a matter of showing up at a party. According to investigative reports from the New York Post and photographs obtained by the Daily Mail, Barak was documented visiting Epstein's Manhattan mansion on multiple occasions in 2016. This is a critical detail. This was after Epstein was a convicted sex offender, a registered level 3 sex offender in New York, the worst classification possible. The reports detail how Barak employed tradecraft using the back entrance of the townhouse and wearing a disguise, a cheap-looking wig, and baseball cap to avoid detection. This is not the behavior of a man attending a simple social call. This is the behavior of someone who doesn't want to be seen. But why does this connection matter so profoundly? The link runs directly through Epstein's longtime accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine is the daughter of Robert Maxwell, the notorious media mogul who drowned under mysterious circumstances in 1991. According to extensive investigations, including work by journalists like Gordon Thomas in his book Gideon's Spies, Robert Maxwell was a known and significant asset for Mossad, Israel's intelligence service. He used his media empire to launder money and run influence operations. Ghislaine didn't just marry into this world, she was born into it. She was her father's favorite, often called his proxy, and was steeped in the culture of espionage from childhood. The theory, supported by intelligence professionals like Robert Baer, a former CIA case officer who spent decades in the Middle East, is that Epstein's operation was a classic, textbook honey trap. The goal? Lure powerful and influential men into compromising sexual situations, record everything, and use that Kompromat, that compromising material, as leverage for intelligence gathering or political influence. Releasing Ehud Barak's full role wouldn't just be a political scandal, it would force a seismic geopolitical confrontation. It would mean admitting that a key ally, a nation that receives billions in annual US military aid, was running a sophisticated blackmail operation on American soil, potentially compromising US politicians, military leaders, and academics for decades. That is a truth considered so destabilizing to the international order that it is deemed by the national security establishment too dangerous to ever reveal. Jeffrey Epstein projected an image of a brilliant, self-made billionaire, but the source of his enormous wealth was always the central mystery. There was no Epstein family fortune, no wildly successful hedge fund. The answer to this mystery leads directly to one man, Leslie Wexner, the reclusive billionaire founder of L Brands, the empire behind Victoria's Secret and Bath and Body Works. The relationship between Wexner and Epstein was far from normal. In the late 1980s, Epstein became Wexner's financial advisor, and astonishingly, Wexner granted him power of attorney. This is an almost unprecedented level of trust for a billionaire. This legal authority allowed Epstein to literally sign Wexner's name, borrow money on his behalf, and buy and sell assets. It was through this power that Epstein acquired his flagship property, the $56 million, 40,000 square foot Manhattan townhouse, one of the largest private residences in the city. The property was purchased by a company owned by Wexner and transferred to Epstein for $0. After Epstein ceased his formal advisory role for Wexner around the early 2000s, the money flow didn't stop. It became more mysterious. A groundbreaking investigation by the Wall Street Journal in 2019 revealed that Wexner's charitable foundations funneled at least $46 million to various non-profits and entities controlled by Jeffrey Epstein after their professional relationship ended. The question is glaring. What were these multi-million-dollar payments for? They were not salaries. Were they investments in something else? Hush money? Or funding for the ongoing operational costs of Epstein's network of properties, private jets, and staff? The deeper question isn't just whether Wexner knew about Epstein's crimes, it's whether Epstein was using Wexner's vast fortune as the primary funding mechanism for the entire blackmail apparatus. Exposing Leslie Wexner's full involvement would open a Pandora's box of financial inquiries. It would force an examination of every transaction, every bank that processed these suspicious flows of cash, and potentially implicate other wealthy individuals in Wexner's circle who may have turned a blind eye. The exposure of a financial pipeline of this magnitude, connecting legitimate corporate wealth to a criminal enterprise, could have devastating ripple effects through the financial world, which is precisely why his name is handled with extreme caution. We've seen the intelligence shield and the financial shield, but the third name leads us directly into the heart of American political power, and the evidence is buried in a place they called Orgy Island. We'll break down the shocking court deposition right after this. This category is about individuals whose power is derived from their perceived integrity, their role as untouchable statesmen above the political fray. The name that stands out most starkly in this regard is former US Senator George Mitchell. Why him? The evidence comes from a 2015 court deposition given by victim Virginia Giuffre that was unsealed in her civil case against Ghislaine Maxwell. In this sworn testimony, Giuffre stated that she was repeatedly trafficked to Epstein's private island, Little St. James, and was directed to have sex with, among others, a prominent American politician and a foreign prime minister. While the court documents themselves redact the names, multiple investigative sources, including extensive reporting from the Daily Beast, have consistently identified the prominent American politician as former Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell. Mitchell is the archetype of the benevolent statesman. He is best known for brokering the historic Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland, for which he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He embodies the idea of a moral authority in government. Exposing him wouldn't just be about taking down another politician. It would be an existential attack on the mythos of American leadership itself. It would prove that the very individuals we entrust with peace and diplomacy were participating in the most heinous crimes imaginable. For the political establishment, protecting Mitchell's reputation is synonymous with protecting the fragile public illusion of integrity and honor at the highest levels of statesmanship. His exposure would shatter that illusion beyond repair. This theory moves beyond the question of who visited the island and into the terrifying question of what happened to the blackmail after it was collected. This leads us to Peter Thiel, the billionaire co-founder of PayPal and the data mining behemoth Palantir. Palantir is not a typical tech company. It specializes in what's called big data analysis, creating software for government agencies like the CIA, the FBI, and the Department of Defense to find hidden patterns in massive datasets, tracking terrorists, uncovering fraud, and predicting social unrest. It is, for all intents and purposes, a private intelligence agency. The professional ties between Thiel and Epstein are a matter of public record. Forbes and Business Insider have documented that Thiel attended at least one dinner at Epstein's New York home in 2014. Furthermore, Epstein was an early investor in Thiel's venture capital fund, Founders Fund. The chilling theory that emerges is this: Epstein's operation may have had a second, even more sinister purpose beyond immediate blackmail. It could have been about building a massive, searchable database of the personal, sexual, and psychological vulnerabilities of the global elite. Who would have the unique capability to analyze such a vast and complex data set? The company with the most advanced pattern recognition software on the planet, Palantir. Exposing a direct link would mean that the very tools US intelligence uses to protect national security were potentially used to manage, categorize, and weaponize a pedophile's collection of blackmail. Peter Thiel is protected by a data shield because his company is so deeply embedded in the national security apparatus that investigating him is immediately framed as a threat to national security itself, creating an almost impenetrable barrier to scrutiny. The final shield is the most insidious because it operates on a psychological level, attacking our very ability to discern truth from fiction. It involves using a universally beloved figure as a weapon of mass distraction. The name most frequently and absurdly weaponized in this way is Tom Hanks. Let us be unequivocally clear, there is not a single shred of credible, admissible evidence linking Tom Hanks to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. The rumors are based on patently fake photoshopped images, manipulated flight data, and bizarre online conspiracy theories that are easily debunked with basic fact-checking. But that is precisely the point of this shield. By aggressively promoting an absurd and easily disprovable theory about someone like Tom Hanks, America's dad, bad actors achieve two devastating objectives. First, they engage in a strategy of poisoning the well. They deliberately associate all legitimate, evidence-based inquiry into the Epstein case with laughable and insane conspiracy theories. This allows them to dismiss anyone who asks questions as a crazy conspiracy theorist, effectively shutting down rational debate. Second, they create a powerful smokescreen. While the public, the media, and social media platforms are busy debunking the ridiculous claims about Hanks, the real, powerful names we've just discussed, the Baraks, the Wexners, the Mitchells, slip out the back door, avoiding any serious scrutiny. This name is protected not by courts or money, but by the clever weaponization of public ridicule. It's a brilliant and terrifying psychological operation designed to protect the powerful by making the truth seem foolish. So let's look at the formidable wall they've built. A wall where one side is protected by national security, another by economic stability, another by political reputation, another by data control, and the last by public ridicule. This isn't just a simple conspiracy of silence, it's a conspiracy of convenience and mutual self-interest. Each powerful entity, the intelligence community, the financial world, the political establishment, the tech, oligarchy protects its own because each understands that exposing a single crack in this wall of impunity could cause the entire structure to crumble, taking them all down with it. The question is no longer who is on the list. The question is, do we have the courage to look at this wall they've built around the truth and demand it be torn down brick by brick? If you want to continue uncovering the truth with us to see what lies beyond this wall, then hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because this is not the end. The full story, the deepest truth, is beyond the forgotten.